You are listening to Attractive Relationships, the podcast where we dive deep into the art and science of relationships and communication. I'm Rico Armstrong, your host and advocate for attractive, happy relationships. In a world where relationships play a crucial role in our personal and professional lives, understanding how to communicate to connect with others is essential. Transform your communication skills to increase your social status, your social confidence, and help you gain the best relationships you can have. Welcome to Attractive Relationships. How do you know if you have the reputation of being a great communicator? How do you know if you're a great communicator? I'm going to go over with you 7 things that would be a part of your reputation, and you might be surprised on whether or not you're a great communicator. So says other people, not just yourself, whether your answer is yes or no. But before I give you those 7 things, I wanted to tell you a story of what recently happened. I went out to a few people who are in a leadership role and one person who's about to be in a leadership type role. And I asked them what makes a great communicator. And now the reason why I asked them is because as leaders, and this is something that you and I may agree on, is that as a leader, being able to communicate is essential. It's important because as leaders, let's say you are a supervisor or a manager, or even if you're a parent over a child, if you're in any position of authority or power, how do you get adults or other people to do something, especially when it's hard, that the other person may not really want to do, but you get them to do it anyway, possibly enjoy it, and willing to come back and do it again, possibly even better than they did previous? How do you get them to do that? I would say that one of the biggest contributors to being able to do that lies in your ability to communicate. And some of the answers from the leaders that I had spoken to help to indicate that, some of that. So, for example, I'm going to give you what one leader said. One leader said that what makes a good communicator is somebody who can create a good environment where everybody trusts each other, can be honest and open. And I thought that was really beautiful because I personally really believe in that. It's hard to have good communication if you don't know how to say the word. First of all, it's hard to have good communication with somebody that you don't trust and with somebody that you're not sure if they're being honest with you. And that might be a challenge, especially if you're in a position of power or authority, because sometimes we don't know if the feedback we're getting from other people is honest, or are they just telling us what we want to hear? How do we know we've really created that environment where everybody gets along and trust each other so we can be authentic, right? So I thought her feedback was insightful. One person said what you might expect anybody to say on the very generic level, and this is a guy coming from the military. He said, a good communicator is clear and inclusive. And as he elaborated, what he meant by that is you are clear in your instructions and you're not holding a lot of information for yourself, but you're giving that information to everybody, as opposed to not giving clear information or the right information to everybody and then getting mad at that person for not doing the job that we weren't very clear about. Now, again, he's coming from a military mindset. I think at the very basics, clarity obviously is very important on how we communicate. One person said something that was interesting. This is a person that is about to be in a leadership role, and I think this person kind of shortchanged himself. His name is LJ. And what LJ said, he says, I don't know if I'm the right person to ask because I'm an introvert and I'm shy. Which, if you know LJ, LJ is a very he can talk, like he can carry a conversation. So I asked him naturally, I was like, does that mean being an extrovert and not shy is an indicator of a good communicator? And he said, I suppose so. I can tell you, I am an introvert. I'm an ambivert that leans introvert. And I've had moments of shyness, and sometimes I prefer to not have all the attention on me. I believe this skill to communicate effectively is something that can be learned by anybody. It's what I teach people. But here's the best answer that I heard from the people that I had asked the question, what makes a great communicator? And this is from a person named Blake. And what Blake said, let me see if I find his answer here because I had to write it down. He said, a good communicator is personable. He said that, and I was like, that is a very broad picture in my brain. So I paused and I looked at him. I said, personable. He said, yeah, personable. Like a good communicator is personable because they will talk with you, not at you. I was like, wow, what a beautiful way to frame a beautiful communicator. It instantly reminded me of a study that was done for those that pitch TV shows or movies in Hollywood. You know, somebody says, I got a great idea for a movie, and they go to the executives that have the authority and the power to greenlight or give the okay to take the next step on this movie idea. The ones that did the worst were not the, although they were clear, they were very clear on the idea and they spoke perfectly. They they didn't do this one thing, and and that was talk with the person that could greenlight their idea. They were talking at them the whole time. Here's the idea, and here's what would happen, and this is why it's so great. What do you think? You've probably been on some the other end of sales conversations that way. Or maybe your spouse or girlfriend was trying to convince you about why something was so awesome by talking at you the whole time. And you're just like, when will you please shut up? But the best movie pitches were the ones where they say, here's our big idea, and here's some parts of it. And now, how do you think that this would be the best way to go about this scenario in this movie? Or how do you see this character? Does that make sense to you? What would you change about it? And they include the people with authority. In other words, they talked with, they collaborated with. And those were the movies that had a far more likeliness to succeed. I believe I heard that story in Daniel Pink's book called To Sell is Human. It's a very good book. I recommend it. And so that's what Blake was saying is as a position of authority, uh, if you're talking to your employees or even the other way around, when you present a problem, when you present an idea, when you're trying to engage, it's talk with the person, not at the person. And I thought that was very, very beautiful. And as you can expect, Blake is an excellent communicator, very personable, easy to talk to, easy to get along with, and he's just amazing that way. So, what would be your answer? These aren't the only answers. Like, what would make a great communicator? And the reason why I love asking this question is because if you are a great communicator, it's one of the key components of a great relationship. Now, if you listen to this podcast a while, you know that the that what I believe is maybe the greatest aspect of a close relationship that's mutually serving each other is one where two people can support each other's purpose. However, the only way to know about the other person's purpose and how we are able to support it and if we're doing it well and vice versa is by communicating. If you don't communicate, in some way, you don't know if you're really serving each other well. The quality of your communication usually dictates the quality of your relationship, not the amount, but the quality of it. And if you are a good communicator, There are 7 characteristics of a good communicator that you will have a reputation for having. You may not have all 7, but you'll have 3 or 4 of them. I think 3 is the basics to just say you're a decent communicator. But if you're excellent, you'll have 4 or more of these qualities. Let's talk about them. Number 1, if you are a good communicator, as outlined and decided not by you, but by the people around you, you will be known as somebody who knows how to make good connections. Somebody who knows how to make good connections. And I don't mean just like introducing people, I mean one-on-one connections. People feel connected with you. That's one way to know you might be a good communicator, if you're known as that person that people can relate to and have that connection with. Hey guys, real quick, I'd love to connect with you beyond these episodes, which is why I'm excited to tell you that Attractive Relationships recently started an exclusive newsletter just for you. You'll get behind the scenes stories and additional exclusive content to aid in building your personal attractive relationships. So if you'd like to be kept in the loop, simply click the link in the description below the episode. Number 2, you will have the reputation of being motivational. We see this with a lot of speakers sometimes. And now we want to be careful with motivation because it is temporary. Motivation is temporary. It is also sometimes necessary to get adults or even children to do hard things in that particular moment. And great communicators know how to motivate the person at the right time to get through that exact moment and feel good about it. A good communicator has the reputation of being inspiring. Now, what's the definition between being motivational and being inspiring? Well, if motivation is brief, being inspired lasts for longer. Maybe there is that one event that happened in your life, that one story in your life that you've seen or heard that you can still think about to this day. And you're like, the story of Simone Biles in the Olympics, because right now, if you're listening to this podcast, like the Olympics are the thing, like Simone Biles and her story has inspired me. And it's more than just for a moment. More likely, though, there's someone who, when you were had an ambitious goal or going through a tough moment, somebody was able to not only connect with you, but remind you of why you started this ambitious, hard, difficult thing, and reminded you of why you're capable of it. And that was more than just motivating. They were inspiring. Number 4, a person who's a good communicator will be known as confident. This is one of the reasons why I love the art and the science of communication. I have noticed that for me, an introvert, who does not look for or particularly want and enjoy attention from other people. I know that if I want to be my best self, to help others be their best self, I have to be able to walk in and handle that attention confidently. I have to know that I have the abilities to connect or to inspire or to motivate, among other things. And when you know you have that skill, you walk differently. You are not scared or timid to make small talk with somebody, even if it's not something that you prefer in that moment. You are not afraid to meet people for the first time. You're not afraid to lead a meeting or to direct a person. The confidence that you may have talking with your kids or talking with your spouse or talking with your brother and sister, and the way that you speak from here, from the chest, with your chest out, is the same way that you can present yourself anywhere when you have the skill to communicate, because this voice and how you manipulate it is the tool that you carry with you everywhere, no matter what. And the confidence to be able to use it is, it makes you bold in the best way. Number 5, a confident person has the reputation of being understanding. This goes into it's related to connection. So connection is all about that feeling that somebody says, I connect with you on purpose. Uh, Understanding also means this person gets me. You understand the situation around you. You understand a situation with your team. You understand the different dynamics and the quirks and the different ins and outs. And the reason why that's important is because as a communicator, as an expert communicator, your ability to understand the dynamics around you will shape what you say and how you say it. Therefore, if you have a reputation of somebody who knows how to read a room, somebody who understands the dynamics at work in any particular given situation, whether you're walking into it for the first time or you are walking into a room full of people you've known for decades, that ability is something that you'll have a reputation for if you're known as an expert communicator. And also related to this is number 6, which is being empathetic. If understanding is like understanding more and the dynamics of a group or the intricacies of human beings and people, if if you are empathetic, another way to phrase that is that you're known as a warm individual. This is part of what it means to be charismatic. When we see people that we are drawn to, we're usually not drawn to the cold. Like you hold something that's ice cold, you want to put it down immediately. But if something's warm, not hot, but warm, and especially on a cold day where people are emotionally cold, if you're known as a warm person, maybe a bright person, you've got that smile. When somebody shares an emotion with you of excitement, you can mirror that excitement to some degree with a smile and maybe a little bit of a pitch raise in your voice, like, oh, wow, that's amazing. Or when somebody's sad, you can slow down your voice, maybe lower the tone a little bit and show that empathy. That shows you as an empathetic, warm person. If you're a great communicator, that is one characteristic that you may have a reputation for. And last, number 7, if you are a great communicator, you'll have a reputation for being intelligent. People might compliment you on the words that you say, on your vocabulary. People might compliment you on the way that you can take something complex and make it simple and explain it that way. Those are ways that people will compliment your intelligence. And if you hear that a lot, you could safe to say you probably have a reputation for that. So these are the 7 things, which, by the way, the last 2, empathy and intelligence, if you get that balance right, you are nailing what's called charisma. Again, charisma by Vanessa Van Edwards is simply a balance of empathy and intelligence, finding that balance, and people will be drawn to you just by those 2 things. And if you're a great communicator, here are the 7 things again. You are known for being able to make emotional connections with other human beings. You have a reputation for being motivational. You have a reputation for being inspiring. You have a reputation for being confident, understanding, empathetic, and intelligent. Again, you don't have to have all 7, but if you want to be a great communicator, I would say you need all 4, or at least 4 of these. And the other 3 are there somewhere, but you are very strong on at least 4 of these. And if you have these 7 characteristics, because you have developed the skill of being a communicator, how can these qualities make you more attractive and better as a spouse or a significant other or as a potential mate partner for somebody? How could these qualities help you be a better parent or a salesperson or a leader or a coach or a boss or a friend? I imagine it will help you in great ways. It'll allow you to get that raise at work because you know how to communicate effectively, or to get your staff on board with whatever is needed to be done without griping about it the whole way, or to get your client to buy whatever it is that you're selling, or if you have a program, to get people to actually follow through that program. If you're a great communicator, you can get your spouse to understand and trust and connect with you more, and vice versa. So when I asked the question before, how do you get adults to do something that may be hard, and maybe they don't even want to do it, but they do it anyway and enjoy it and are willing to come back, do it again. In a word, it's how you communicate. If you are interested in being better on your communication skills, enhancing your communication skills to where you can have the reputation of a great communicator that includes those 7 things and make life better for you both at home and at work, this is what we do at Attractive Relationships. Because understanding how to communicate is the bridge that connects your purpose with other people. So that way we can all get more of what we want. And this is going to be especially helpful for those of you who believe that helping people be the best versions of themselves while also helping you achieve your purpose is how we really get what we want out of life, and happiness to go with it. All right, that is all. Thank you guys for listening. Stay tuned for the next episode. They drop every Monday. I'll talk to you then. As we come to the end of another episode of Attractive Relationships, I want to express my gratitude to you for tuning in. Your support really does mean the world to me. Now, if this episode brought you any value, I would truly appreciate it if you shared this podcast with anyone that you think could benefit from our discussions on effective communication and relationship building. Until next time, remember, great relationships start with great communication. So stay curious, stay compassionate, and keep building those attractive relationships.